organizations now and helping business people, because I've worked with them for so many years, almost 15 years with the Ottawa Business Journal, working around entrepreneurs. I was always so inspired, you know, the ones that were super passionate, like yourself, that were, you know, they're doing things with heart.
Yeah.
They're doing things because they really want to, because they love it.
Right.
That's powerful.
And so in all that time working with the Ottawa Business Journal, or OBJ, which in Ottawa, Canada is
the business paper.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
What led you to leave that reality and then embark on this journey that you're on now?
Burnout. What I was doing was not me. It was breaking me.
Okay.
It was breaking me, and I had signs, and there were a lot of things I loved about my job, and where I felt like I could bring me to the table, but I was really restricted inside this corporate box, and lots of egos, business driven by profit, and that it just became, it wasn't me. You talk about your word for the year. I love that, growth.
Thank you.
I've seen things around, and it might have been something that you inspired me by, that you put out on social media, about creating one word to inspire you, move you this year, one word. And this particular ask was, it needs to start with the first letter of your name. So mine is S for Susan's. And funny enough, the word I wanted was with an S, serve.
Yeah.
And I just want to serve.
Yeah.
I just want to be of value. I fully believe that when you do that, don't chase the money.
Yeah.
And in the business world, it's mostly driven by profit and how much you can generate. And that was my job. That was my responsibility. So it was too much, too long.
So I was actually speaking with someone yesterday. I had a wonderful coffee chat, and I'm just going to give a first name. Shout out to Sue Ling.
Sue
Ling. Her first name is Sue Ling. She was, and like you,
we could have fundraising. She caring and sharing. No. Okay.
I don't think so. Sorry, Sue Ling, if you are, and if you told me that,
Sounds familiar.
I'm sorry. And we were having these kinds of conversations, similar to what you and I are talking about. I feel like I'm just taken back there. And so I'm curious to know that what you think needs to change and shift in order for us to have more heart-centered, service-based organizations. Because the reality is, coming from an HR background,
yes,
when you've got employees who, imagine if employees felt like we do about our own businesses, and it's possible to create that.
Mm-hmm.
How much better are we going to serve other customers and impact the bottom line?
Yeah.
There's no question that.
And there were times in my career that I did feel that way, for sure.
So what's it going to take?
Yeah.
And what's that going to look like?
That's a really good question.
It's a big question.
It's a big question.
Put you on the spot.
It's a collaborative solution. It's not just because I tried to sprinkle my pixie dust and do my thing. But sometimes you're just confined to a structure that you're working within. So if that structure isn't pliable, if the people aren't, pliable and open. It was funny. I did a video with Darren Fleming, the CEO of Real Strategy, and his commercial real estate. He's approaching commercial real estate now after 19 or 18 years in the business from the happiness factor.
Awesome. I need to meet this man.
Yes, we'll introduce you. And but there's a shift happening out there, Louise. There's a shift, and we're part of it. There's a shift happening. And albeit slower than some of us would like, but there's a shift happening. So I think there's a recruitment going on. There are people that are buying into what's real, what really matters, what motivates people, what's their why. We were talking about earlier, and you asked me, what makes a leader?
Yeah.
And I think that it's those qualities. It's recognizing the people that you are part of your team that work with you, what's their why, what's important to them, and to keep that in the forefront, and provide opportunities for them to grow and be part of something that's like a family. That's loyalty.
It is.
It'll keep people.
It is. I've been really fortunate. I do some human resources consulting still. Can't quite get out of it. It's just I still feel this connection. It's kind of who I am. And And I feel really passionate about leadership development, and I feel really passionate as well about diversity and inclusion. And I was really fortunate.
So important.
It really is, specifically on the persons with disabilities side, and women. Why those two? I don't know. Women, that one's kind of obvious, perhaps, and because we are 50% of
the workforce,
well, of the world. And so I wanted to explore that a little bit, because the first time I actually identified as being a feminist was when I read Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In back in 2013.
What's the definition of a feminist, or what's your definition of a feminist?
I think we need a new word. Yes. Is what I think we need.
Overused, yeah.
Overused, and I think it's a negative connotation. So if there's someone listening who has a new word, if there is a new word, I would love to hear
suggestions.
Please, I'd love to hear suggestions.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't sound woohoo.
It doesn't sound, no, and that's not anti-men, because I always thought the word
feminist
was meant anti-men.
Yeah.
And so I'd love a new word that embraces more of the equality aspect, but equality now I think is also has
even that
word. That.
We need new words.
We really do. Well, language evolves.
Yeah, it does.
Language evolves.
Absolutely.
When I was young, I would never be allowed to say crap. That was a swear word in my house. And sorry, Mom, now on the radio show I say shit.
Wow. Love the internet.
I know, right? But I do believe that a lot of this shifting that you're talking about that's happening in business will be
happening in the world.
It is happening.
Yeah, trickling down to business.
It is. But will be accelerated when we see more women in leadership roles.
Yes.
Because the reality is, and the science backs this up, friends, this is not, this statement is fact as opposed to being stereotypical, is women and men's brains are different.
Yes.
And that is a good thing.
Yeah, the brains are different, and there's a lot of commonality too.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of commonality. We all are humans on a journey.
And I think when we come from a place that we are all humans on a journey, if that's where what it boils down to, then I think we are in a place where we are able to leverage the differences and embrace and enjoy the differences.
Absolutely. I mean, think about partnerships in general, or your mates, your love relationships, your working relationships, your friendships, right? My friends, this is my criteria for friendship, and you're my new best friend. I like to hang out with people that inspire me.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not gender specific. Yeah. Right. And that's the fundamental. That's the core.
It is. What do you think the world needs more of?
Oh, I'm going to sound cheesy. Love.
Yeah.
Love connect. Yeah. Then we go to the woohoo side. Yeah. Oh, kindness, tolerance, compassion.
And so how do we insert that in business?
Well, we be it.
I love that.
We be it, number one. You got it. If you aren't being it, forget it. It ain't going to happen. And then you've got to build the tribe. You've got to build a team of people that get it, that are being it, that are doing it. And then you do it together. Some of the most powerful companies in the world get that. I mean, I'm going to use Google. It's a common example. But, I see some here locally, here, some businesses that have that heart, and you feel it. And it's about being of service. It's about giving value, truly being driven by that, and not the mighty dollar. And I think there's a shift. I mean, I've been around business now. I'm 53 years old. I've been around business since I was 22. So good 30 years. Wow. I guess there's some experience there. And the 80s was all about money and things. That's when I saw those people that came into the restaurant. They were, they all had fancy cars and, and yes, I love beautiful things. And one thing I know for sure, when you put great service, truly great service out into the world, and you're of great value to others, money will chase you down.
It does.
money will chase you down, guaranteed.
It does. And when you come from that service-based mentality, you not only
You're always happy, Louise. You are.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. You're grateful for who you are, what you have, what you're doing, who you're helping. And then, yeah, it's true.
Gratitude is magical.
Gratitude is magical. I love it.
Oh, yes. Live in the wow.
I had to say this.
Yeah, she brought out these fancy Starbucks cups. I see they're Starbucks.
Yeah, the Starbucks cups. We got these for our boys. I think it was last Christmas, and put them in their stockings. And 2 of the cups that I have out today. This one says, live in the wow. This is going back to sort of what you were saying now and what we were saying earlier in our conversation about the power of words.
Yes.
And then what does yours say? I wanted to talk about one of the words on that.
Yeah. Hustle and glow. And we both said, you were the first one to say, I don't care for that word. And I said, yes, I've also removed this from my vocabulary. Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about why.
Well, that's what was breaking me. It was the hustle, this pressure that we put on ourselves. I look at my daughter who, suffered from anxiety, and she developed amazing tools and an amazing toolbox that she uses to overcome these things now. And she had to understand why. And it was the pressure she was putting on herself.
Right.
And the pressure we put on ourselves and others put on us, they demand. I mean, often I felt in my career in sales and marketing like a racehorse.
Yeah.
I was constantly having to go faster, win more races. And trust me, it takes its toll, and it manifests in the body as dis-ease, and we start to get sick. I was sick all the time, and I was trying to take care of myself, go to the gym, eat the right foods, but it was the mental, the anxiety that I was responsible for. I was taking on, I own it. And I had to stop that and approach life from a different pace. It doesn't mean you cannot be productive. In fact, you can be even more productive. I can get more done in a 4-hour day than I could in a 12-hour day when I was working in a corporate world.
Science to back that up too, folks. Science alert!
She's like my science geek. That's awesome.
In fact,
listen to Louise for the science to back up what I just said.
In fact, I actually, interestingly, my longer term vision and goal is to get my PhD in psychology.
Oh, wow.
I should have listened to my mom. Shout out to my mom. I talk about my mom all the time. Aww. And my dad, bless him, he's been on the radio show. He's been on my show.
Awesome.
Awesome too, Dad. But my mom was encouraging me to study psychology when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. And I pursued the biology route instead. I did a minor in psych, but recognizing now, after career in human resources and still working it, that really is my calling. And now there is there's an area of psychology called positive psychology. Mm. The father of positive psychology, his name is Dr. Martin Seligman. I actually sent him an email over Christmas.
Good for you.
And an email of gratitude. And he sent me an email back.
See how that works?
I know.
It's magical.
It is. Now I'm getting off on a tangent here.
That's I don't even know good tangent.
I don't even know if I'll circle back to what I was going to say. But it was actually Amy Perkins, who is a great friend of mine who I have met on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, go and check her out, Amy Perkins. She was talking about the power of gratitude, and I think there's a lot of energy around that right now.
And there must be some science.
And there's absolutely science around it. It was in my 12-day happiness challenge, which is backed by science. And she was encouraging you, the people who were viewing her material, to reach out to someone that you're grateful for and actually express your gratitude to them. And a big person.
Love that. A big person
meaning someone you wouldn't necessarily so I'm saying famous.
Oh, okay.
Even though Martin Seligman is not necessarily famous, he's a big guy in the positive psychology world, someone that I really have looked up to. And I have expressed gratitude. I do frequently to my mom. I do to my therapist, who I've not seen in a very long time, but I periodically will send him messages about the impact he's had on my life still today.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so I thought of this man, Martin Seligman, thought of him because I came across him years ago when one of my boys was diagnosed with a variety of learning disabilities. And I came across his book called The Optimistic Child. And I gained tools from him. My partner, my ex-husband at the time, diagnosed with depression. And there was a book that he wrote called Learned Optimism. And so I learned about him way back then, I don't even know, maybe more than 10 years ago. and I've been following him since. I'm just a huge fan of him. In fact, his model underpins my coaching model and philosophy.
So
he's very huge influencer in my life. So I shared with him a note of gratitude for the ways that he has impacted me in my life. And so while I tried to be concise, there was a lot to share. So mine was a few small paragraphs, and he did reply, but he just said, "You are so welcome, Louise." But still, the fact that I got that back was really meaningful to me to know that he knows.
Yes, he read it. I love it.
He's had on my life.
So it's an exchange of energy, right? You've delivered something to him, which I don't doubt that he was moved by. It often, I like to use as few words as possible. I'm practicing that.
Yes.
Right? Because sometimes, think about quotes, right? The power of quotes, and they're often few words, right?
Well, and oftentimes it's the person in the meeting or the person in the family who does not speak up very much.
Because they're listening.
But when they do,
because they're listening most of the time. And something I've had to learn, I was the one always vying for because I was insecure, and I always felt like I had to prove myself. And I think that's where the woman thing comes in a little bit in the generation that I sort of learned and rose to, management. And I learned all of that. Unlike yourself, I did not get a degree because I wanted to go to be an actor. And so I was off to college. And when that didn't happen, it was like, oh my God. But interesting about psychology, how most of us that are in this kind of line of work, helping people, become better versions of themselves and influencers, healers, if you will, is the interest in psychology. I've always, and that's what I loved about sales is understanding why people do what they do, why they choose, because that's all it is, really. Marketing and sales is all about psychology.
Yes. Interesting.
Understanding people.
And so what, this stage in your life now,
yes,
and all that you have learned.
The new chapter.
It is a new chapter as you continue just to become more of who you are. What are you most passionate about, and how is that part of what it is that you offer your clients?
So right now I consider myself at the R&D stage of my business.
Love that.
Yeah. Research and development. I put a few things out there that I feel confident with. I have done some coaching, although I don't follow a specific format. It's kind of individual, but helping people break through and, inspire and people to make change, because it's not easy.
No.
And that's why coaches are good, because they keep you on track. They give you some homework and you got to do the work. We all have to do the work. So I threw that out there. I've done some emceeing. I love this video. I'm excited about that because I'm actually helping people. It sounds, I don't want it to sound woohoo, but helping people be vulnerable. Because I'll tell you what, men are really uncomfortable with that word. They prefer the word resilience. But vulnerability in itself is really about exposing what some would consider a weakness. And again, weakness isn't a bad word, but it's doing that so that they can connect with people. And I think that's what's missing in the business world, is people, if there's too much ego, people are afraid what people are going to judge you no matter what. So you're never good. Judgment exists. You have to stand strong in who you are and be brave to show the ugly parts, because people will admire you most for that.
They trust you.
They'll remember, because you have courage, and you'll inspire them, hopefully. And that's what I'm hoping to help people do more. I'm practicing it now in my, standing in myself more than I ever have. And it's ironically what I'm kind of promoting as a business as well, helping people do the same, because I believe that it is from a sales and marketing position, because I still have that business hat and I still have that mindset, and is that if you can help people, if you can connect, make that connection. That's what's gold in advertising and marketing. Make that emotional connection with people. And nothing does that more than sharing something about yourself that's a little scary.
So I do some of the work that I do, and I'm doing some work with a local company on this, is about trust being the basis for having a high performing team. And there's a lot of research on that. Of course there is. Of course there is. Brene Brown.
And of course she's a researcher.
Ah.
Right? Yeah, we love, I'm a huge fan.
So I'm already going on another tangent. Don't even know if I'll circle back here, friends. Brene Brown actually does training in on one of her Braving the Wilderness. Did you know that?
Yes, I've heard.
And so I've looked into getting into that program because I would love to get certified in that. I'm not always a big fan of the certification. Sometimes it's like the University of Life, friends, combined with real.
As long as you're practicing, right? But I mean, but if you're following a format or a curriculum, right? You've got deadlines, you've got homework, you're doing the work. So there's a lot of benefit. It's not actually the accreditation; it's the work that you do to get there.
That's right.
Right? The knowledge that.
That's right. So I want to do that, but you have to have certain things.
Okay.
Certain certifications already before you can get it.
So you got to do some work before you can do that.
So I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know.
I believe in you, Louise.
I don't know if I want. No, it's more. I don't know.
Want it.
I don't know if I want to do that work to get that. I think there are other ways I may, but anyway, it's amazing material. And I have a coaching friend who's going to be actually on my radio show soon, who I'm going to inquire. She's done it.
Oh,
and
great.
So I'll just maybe dig in a little bit more to see it.
Well, I love and admire your science side.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to make a comment about the bravery aspect of what you just talked about. I think that it's so easy. We've already mentioned this earlier, the external voices being the voices of people in our family, people at work, our society, and the internal voice. Absolutely.
Bosses, yeah.
And our internal voices, and that's the stories that we have, the constructs that we have created in our own minds as we've grown, can so hold us prisoner. Hold us prisoner. Yeah. I often say the biggest barrier is what's between your ears.
That's the biggest revelation that I have ever had in my life, was when I learned that we have the power of thought, the power of our words, the power of our minds to create what we truly want. And it's always working, whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
So we're creating all the time. And to be honest, I learned about that early, like late 20s, early 30s. But practicing it is the key. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think intellectually, oh my God, of course that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, yes. But making real change in your own behavior takes practice and steps, daily practice, daily steps. If you want to master, you talk about learning, you talk about curriculum and accreditations and certifications. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Nope. Why is it any different? But more of us need to spend time thinking about that. Spending time thinking about what we're thinking about.
I mean, it sounds like tripping over your words, but if you stop for a moment and actually slow that down and think about it.
That's the key, Louise, right there.
Yeah.
Stillness. Slow yourself. Yeah.
Stillness.
Yes. And that's my favorite thing. Maybe some would say I spend too much time, but it's my passion and I'm my biggest subject. I'm my most fascinating subject.
Well, isn't that an enjoyable way to be in this world?
I think so. I'm enjoying it. It's a bit super freakish to some people.
Yeah.
I think that don't have any awareness about that. We need to spend some time. Look at meditation. My friend Luke opened up, and his wife opened up the meditation room, the peace room downtown. Have you been there? Have you seen it?
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Oh yes, you've got to check it out. I'm going. We should go together.
I would love that.
Yeah, and they have all kinds of classes, and they're evoking the 5 senses. It's super cool. I need to learn how to meditate. I do meditation through different ways though already, and meditation isn't necessarily sitting here.
There's a meditation pillow.
There you go, and of course she knows the science. But some people are intimidated. I was for a long time. I was, oh my God, and I have friends whose minds are raced so fast that the idea of, meditation is, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that. But there's different ways to meditate. I walk with my dog. That's meditation for me. Walking in nature, listening to water, staring out a window for 2 hours is no problem for me.
It is. You're right. It's all about stillness of mind.
That's right.
It's all about stillness of mind. I have to admit, here we are. I'm being vulnerable.
Oh,
Yep.
yay.
I have no problem with being vulnerable.
I'm sure you don't. No, and part of the reason why you're successful and people love you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, connect with you.
I first learned about meditation in 1997 or 1996. And I remember that year specifically because I, after university, went to college for wellness and lifestyle management. And it was there that I learned a more holistic approach to looking at personal well-being. And back then, wellness was like voodoo. So I actually, I actually used to whisper the word wellness because people looked like I had two heads. And so,
wow, it's hard to believe.
So that's when I first learned about it. And to be honest, I had a really hard time with it. Fast forward to 2 months ago, when I finally decided to get serious about meditation. And I have to give a shout out to my friend Tressa Haney, Tressa was the one who really encouraged me so kindly, no pushing, yet I know she knew, like, Louise,
she
you get up.
Inspired you.
She did. And so I started, and she said to me, start for 5 minutes. And I said, my mind is too loud. She said, so turn a fan on. So I've got a fan in the bedroom.
Brilliant.
So I turned the fan on and she said, just listen to that for 5 minutes. And so I feel like now I have become a super meditator.
Oh, wow.
And what happens is I actually have to have this book I've got with me right beside me. I actually have to have a notebook with me because when I meditate, honestly, ideas come to me and the idea is that you just let things flow, right? So the stillness. My mind is like, for fuck's sake, you finally woke up. And then now I'm flooded. Yeah. Oh, wow. Flooded with just things that are trying to flow through me. And I see, and those who are watching, you can see that I'm putting my hands across my eyes, from left to right. The ideas come in and they come out through my hand. Wow. And so I just scribble. I don't even.
What about audio? Can you record yourself so you can say it
faster? It's for me, it's the, so I do guided meditations.
Okay.
And so I need to hear the audio. I've got plugs, buds in, and it's the notion of freeing it physically from my soul.
That's powerful. So you're really opening up in your meditation to have that creativity kind of flow. Because that's kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? Like that's the payoff, or that's a huge benefit from meditation. If you can quiet things down, you really, especially as a business person or entrepreneur, if you have to be creative at all, or even just solve some things that are going on in your life, that's when things come to you, right? It's when you shut out the clutter. It's when the real voice of wisdom that's deep down comes through.
Well, it's true, and I attribute a lot of this to one of my boys who I mentioned earlier in the show has had some learning. We call them actually learning differences. Yeah. And so we've learned a lot of strategies, as you were mentioning. Your daughter has as well, which has benefited me and our other kids tremendously in learning these. And one of those is about understanding where your emotional sort of guidance system is. So checking in with yourself. Yes. And I can tell when Cam is, and now he knows as well, green, if you use a traffic light, green meaning totally good in terms of stress level, there's minimal to none, feeling in the flow, feeling good. Orange, as you know, when you're approaching a traffic light, it's caution. Yeah. And so you can feel that internally in terms of your emotional guidance system. Yes. And so that's the best time to be saying, okay, wait a second, what's going on? And then using some of the strategies to cool down. Once you've got to the red light, well, I think we all know what happens when we're in the red.
When we see red.
It's not pretty for me.
No.
And so through him, I've learned a lot of those strategies. And so now when I start to get in the yellow, I meditate 5 minutes.
Lovely.
5 minutes. And I had to force myself to do it, I will admit. And now I almost feel like I'm addicted to meditating because that's where all the power of stillness has never been more evident to me.
If more people experienced it, the power of it, more of us would do it. I mean, there's entire cultures and religions that do it, right? For a very good reason. And we're just We're just recognizing that. But good for you.
Really are, yeah.
And it's about awareness. It's about thinking, right? And actually not thinking, but it's a practice. It's something that you really have to focus on and set aside time to do.
So what are the daily rituals that, because you mentioned this a few minutes ago, that spurred this conversation about meditation. What are some of the daily rituals that keep you mentioned walking with your dog, being outdoors?
And that's a couple of hours a day, believe it or not.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that sounds like a lot to a lot of people in the schedule. And depending on my day, I'll get up early or it's just really key. And I've never been an outdoor person. When I was younger, I was not. As long as you have the right gear on, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And it just takes you out of yourself. I don't listen to anything. I listen to the crunch of my feet now in the snow. Yeah, so it's really being present, right? So I practice that. I do spend time in my thoughts. And now, because I'm launching and I'm in this sort of research and development stage of my business, I dedicate a certain amount of time a day. It's not 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it's really, again, I don't want to use an overused word. We need a new one for balance, but it's for me, because I experience this sense of being broken, and that's not a good feeling.
No.
We've all had it. We don't like, and I sat there for a long time. And so it's that awareness that keeps me focused on maintaining this pace that at this stage of my life I'm more comfortable with, and building a new tribe. I'm building a new tribe because when you let go of an old pattern in an old life, you let go of relationships too. And so that's something that I'm in the process of spending time each day doing.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I call it work-life blend now.
Oh, I
think
like
it's a blend.
Work-life blend, yes.
Balance doesn't exist, friends.
No.
You can have it all, but not at the same time.
But what's the definition of balance? The true Webster.
I don't know. I just know I've never had it.
Because it's probably, if we look back, we've contorted it somehow to make it something bad and ugly, but when it's really not. So maybe some of these old words we can bring back. We can freshen up.
I think so.
And it's really about, and you talk, and I love this this methodology that you're using with the green light and the orange light and working with your son, because fundamentally we're just talking about spending time thinking about your inner.
Checking in with yourself.
Checking in with yourself, and however that works. I mean, for you with meditation, now that you've created this powerful creative vessel and you write it down, for some other people, it'll manifest in a different way, doing something different. And that's
but keep searching. I think that's my message. Keep searching until you find that thing that creates stillness and quiet, so those surges of creativity can flow.
Yeah.
So we are now wrapping up. I'm going to get my little treat. And while I do that, I would love for you to share with the listeners how people can reach you.
Okay. SusanBlain.com is my website, and you'll see some of the things that I put out into the world and offering, and that's the special treat. My email address, and there's a short video, 8 minutes, about Susan Blain, a little about Susan Blain in 8 minutes, which is kind of a mini version of our conversation, a little bit of my story. And check it out, and love to connect.
So Susan's email will be in the show notes, so you can check that out. And so thank you so much for sharing this time with me. Susan and I have the fortunate, we are spending the afternoon together actually working on envisioning our 2019 and putting it down in a visual format. So our dream board. So I look forward to doing that with Susan. And before we go, as always, I would like to express my deep gratitude for sharing, to all of you, my loyal listeners, for sharing this time with me. I wish all of you a very happy New Year, and in celebration of the New Year, and all of you for having been such great listeners, I'd like to pop this cork for you. Woo! Cheers to you, all of my friends, and especially to my amazing producer, Cameron Steele at Contact Talk Radio. So until next week at this time, I'm Louise H. Reed, wishing you all an amazing day. Thanks, friends. Goodbye.
Bye.